Hello everyone and welcome back for the first time in a long time to Marvel Crisis Protocol for the channel. This series is available early to channel members, so thank you to those who are willing and able to spare a little bit extra. There is certain series on this channel that are available early to channel members. This is one of them, most recently Metal Gear Solid the board game as well. Anyway, in today's match we've got new characters, we've got new Crisis cards, old table layout basically more or less, but new mechanics to cover, and forgive us in advance if things are a bit rusty. It has been a month and a bit, I think. Either way, Guardians of the Galaxy today going up against the Defenders, in brackets, Marvel Knights. So Star-Lord Peter Quill will obviously be leading his Guardians of the Galaxy today, being joined by Gamora and Beta Ray Bill, and they're bringing along another being from space, new on the table, and this is Gladiator. He will be generating these tokens, these are confidence tokens, every time he uses his Praetor punch, so if we forget to mention it in advance, that is mentioned now. He loses confidence and he takes damage, so he is a target you can't really ignore because you don't want him to build up those tokens because they let him roll extra dice on his attacks, and at most he can have 6, I think it is. Either way, and Peter will be providing the Wing 8 tokens, which you'll see on the table to know who has those, to provide 2 rerolls to an attack, a block or a dodge. So that about covers it, except they're tactics cards, so if we just go down right here, we have Praetor of the Imperial Guard, Crew of the Milano, Lovable Misfits, Protector of the Empire, and Scuttlebutt on me. And here we have the Defenders being led by the updated stat card of Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, which made him the Marvel Knights affiliation variant for the Defenders. New and improved over his launch stat card, unlike Born Again compared to the Netflix show, but we're not here to talk about that. If you're curious what I think about Born Again, I've been cutting the little chats I've been having on stream about them on my gaming channel. Anywho, Daredevil is leading the Defenders today, bringing along Hawkeye, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, and I've forgotten her name there for a second, the Ancient One. I was going to just say Tilda Swinton. And their tactics cards, which are actually a bit hard to fill out as it turns out if you don't bring Doctor Strange or Immortal Hulk or anyone like that. Indomitable, Brace for Impact, Venomized, Reversal, and Heroes for Hire. So in the War of Kings box, which is where you get Gladiator, you also get 6 new extracts and 6 new secure missions that you can do for Crisis cards. You can play them as a scenario where you kind of alternate with a leaflet that comes with it, or you can just incorporate them as far as I can tell. So we're going to try a couple of those new ones, with the secure being M-Cran Crystals Get Heroes Home, and the extract being Scientific Samples Found in Discovered Universe. So, for the secure there is 4 M-Cran, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, M-Cran Crystals. You score 1 VP for each one you're holding in the cleanup phase. You pay to interact with them. If no enemy characters are contesting the M-Cran Crystal, you are now in control of it. Sorry, you don't pick these up, these are secure, so what am I talking about? You take control of them. If there is anyone within control range, you roll 1 die, and if it's a crit, wild, or a hit, you gain control. During the power phase, each character is holding 1 or more extract objectives, these ones, that are contesting an M-Cran Crystal, gain 1 power. So there's an opportunity to gain a little bit of extra power off this. Scientific Samples. There is 4 sample tokens. You score 1 VP for each one you control that is holding a sample in the cleanup phase. You pay 1 power to pick them up. Once per turn, when a character is holding a sample rolls dice after the effects are resolved, if the roll contained 1 or more skulls, this character gains 1 power. So a little bit of a benefit of a normally bad result. And then finally, we're going to have to remember this, additionally during the cleanup phase, if all of a player's characters that are holding extracts, so of these, are also within 2 of 1 or more secure objectives, you gain 1 extra VP. So if you have only 1 scientific sample and they happen to be within 2 of one of these, that's a victory point. If you have 2 characters holding 2 of these, they would both have to be within 1 or more of these. And if you somehow had all 4 in your possession, all 4 of your characters would also have to be within 2 of one of these. And you can see the layouts on those cards, but just to give you a little flyby of the table layout, if we just zoom out enough, we have the M-Cran Crystals in a box kind of in the middle of the map, and then in a crosshair shape we have the extracts all around it like that. So we'll get set up with both sides and be back after this quick word for my channel sponsor. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. And we are back with everything set up. By the way, if you're in the UK and by the time this is released to everybody, if you're still having trouble tracking down War of Kings in the UK, I got it from my channel sponsor, so that is one option. I'm not saying you have to use my affiliate link, but that is one place you can get it. Anywho, the Guardians are deployed to your left, and the Defenders / Marvel Knights, I'm just going to say Defenders, to your right, and they are taking first activation. They also have one extra model, so the Guardians will have a pass if they choose to use it. In terms of deployment, since I'm not sure everything is entirely visible because they're pretty spread out for a change, Ray Bill is down at the bottom left, down here. Gladiator and Peter are roughly in the middle, and then Gamora is at the top left for the Guardians. And then if we just come this way a little bit, Iron Fist and Daredevil are down here, Hawkeye's in the middle, and then right at the top there we have the Ancient One and Luke Cage just hanging out. I bet they're having fun conversations. With that, we're going to jump into Battle Round 1 and see how this plays out. The game got started with Iron Fist activating for the Defenders, down there by Daredevil, and then he moved away from Matt medium twice. Not full second medium movement, he just wanted to be barely within one of the scientific sample, and has paid 1 power to pick it up. As things stand, he's obviously not close enough to secure that extra victory point is going to be plausible this first turn, but it's just about snatching up the objectives. Gamora sprang into action first for the Guardians, making use of that long movement of hers to easily get over to the scientific sample at the top of the end of the table. She did have to use her second movement though, so she's staying right where she is. She's paid her 1 power and picked up the opposite end of the table's equivalent of what Iron Fist just did. Back in the parking lot, Hawkeye activated and moved medium, picked up the scientific sample right in front of him for 1 power. Then for his second action, moved in range of this secure here, the M-Cran crystal, just barely within range 1. However, that would not score the extra victory point because everybody holding a scientific sample has to be within 2. So, but he's still obviously trying to claim it. Oh, in fact, he could have interacted with it for free, couldn't he? Because it only costs... Nope, you still have to pay power. So he doesn't actually have control of the crystal. You do still have to pay, it's just you don't have to roll if there's no enemies nearby. Peter activated, moved up, picked up the scientific sample, that's all of them in someone's possession now, 2 to each side, and then moved just within range 1 of the closest crystal right there, and he doesn't have any extra power either to try and take control of that. The Ancient One finished her conversation with Luke Cage and has moved up medium to the closest M-Cran crystal, paid 1 power and automatically taken control of it because there's no enemy within contesting range. She has an unused action, but she's just going to stay there and hold down the fort. Ray Bill activated for the Guardians and basically did an L-shaped move in both actions, so ending up where you can see him next to the dumpster there. He is within range 1 of the crystal that's behind him in front of Peter. He paid 1 of his 2 power and took control of it and is just staring down Iron Fist and Hawkeye for turn 2. Second last activation of turn 1 for the Defenders was Luke Cage. He just medium moved straight down the table, he doesn't care, and he couldn't get within range 1 of the secure there. He is within annoyance range, so he's within range 2 of it, but either way, didn't catch it and is just looking for a fight with Gamora next turn, I guess. So it's over to Gladiator to end off the first turn for the Guardians, and then back over to Daredevil to end off the round entirely. New model alert syndrome, everybody. New model alert. Gladiator activated, moved medium, got him there. Got Luke Cage in range 3 of his Praetor punch, so he did that. It's a base 6 dice physical, and on a wild it saps 1 power away. And sorry, it suppresses, so the power just goes away, it doesn't go to Gladiator. He did that, he did get a wild in the roll, so Luke Cage lost the 1 power he had. He was looking for 3 damage coming in before Luke Cage rolled his 4 physical defense dice and rolled 3 crits and a wild. So he just laughs in invincible skin, I guess, and took no damage. That's enough to shake anybody's confidence. So to end off the round, Matt activated, moved to where you can see him, paid 1 power and took control of that crystal. No enemies close enough to contest, so no roll required. Then he hawked his range 4 dice baton hook at Ray Bill because he was the only one in range. Managed to do 1 damage. Oh, actually he had a winging it token, he could have re-rolled his defense dice. So we're going to have to go back and check to see what he had. Hang on. There was 2 hits in his defense roll, which the winging it token allows him to reroll on a defense, and never mind, there was no damage done in fact, so it was a round 1 without any violence really, even with attempted violence, and now we'll go to scoring. So at the end of round 1, those holding a scientific sample that are within contesting range of one of the crystals gain 1 power, so that's Hawkeye for the Defenders, and Peter for the Guardians. Neither side has all of their characters that are holding scientific samples within contesting range of a crystal, so no bonus victory point. So it just comes down to the normal victory points. The Guardians have 2 scientific samples and have control of one of the crystals, this one here, so they have scored 3. The Defenders have 2 scientific samples and have control of 2 of the crystals on the right of your screen there. So they have 4. So it's 4 playing 3 in the Defenders' favour as we go into round 2 with the Guardians going first, unless they opt to pass. As we begin round 2, here's just a quick look at the Winging It token distribution. Better Bill's got 1, Gladiator's got 1, and Gamora has 1. Gladiator sprung into action for the Guardians, moving close enough that he could pay 1 power to take control of that crystal. Luke Cage is not in contesting range, he's outside of range 1. He then, as his action, did a Praetor punch, this time hoping to damage Luke Cage, and he did. He did 1 whole damage, but that's still enough that it gave him a confidence token. By the way, on the subject of the confidence tokens, which were visible when we were going over the lists, since the objective tokens they included in the War of Kings box are accidentally printed too small, they're printed at the same size as the Winging It tokens, which we can use here since that one's gone. They're printed at that size incorrectly. The confidence tokens are printed at the size of objectives, so I think they just got confused, and that's probably what happened, because I'm pretty sure the confidence tokens are meant to be as small as the Winging It tokens, but oh well, there was a mistake. Anyway, that only did 1 damage, so he was like, that's not good enough. He paid 3 power to do his pickup up to size 4 terrain and chuck it at someone. He picked up the size 3 tree here, we count them as size 3 because they're very big trees, hawked it at Luke Cage, and he paid 1 power to brace for impact it. So, at least that got rid of brace for impact, if nothing else. Matt activated first for the Defenders, moving right into the thick of things over here, and tried to convert that crystal because there's enemies within 1. He had to roll 1 die and get a hit crit or a wild. He failed, so it is still under Guardian's control. For his other actual action, he did his basic strike, 5 dice physical with a stun on a wild, into Peter. Did okay with the roll, no wilds though. Peter absolutely aced his defense roll, had 2 crits in there in a wild, so no damage there. Well, Gamora had quite the turn. She moved along to where you can see her here. She did her basic Godslayer attack into the Ancient One, who obviously has bad physical defense, with full rerolls though, and managed to do 3 damage to her and a bleed. Not enough to take her out. She then paid for Assassin's Leap to chuck herself into the Ancient One and managed to do 2 more damage, leaving the Ancient One on 1 health, so she has to get rid of that bleed during her turn or she's out and dazed. She then paid 1 power to try and convert this crystal and actually failed, so her not taking out the Ancient One cost her there a bit. Well, this is why you don't want the Ancient One angry at you. She cleared her bleed status to make sure she didn't just daze as soon as her turn's over. Then she spent 4 power on Astral Strike and punched Gamora in her soul. And boy did she, because she managed to do a staggering 7 damage, which is 1 more health than she has, so that is Gamora dazed. She dropped the scientific sample she was holding. The Ancient One has picked it up, even though it's very likely she'll get taken out by most likely Peter and drop it, but hey, forcing them to go after her. And she's just ending her turn right there. So Gamora got better than she gave out this time. Oh, and just because I keep forgetting to mention it on camera, we are remembering Matt's affiliation bonus. Once per turn when attacking, the Defenders can put in 1 extra attack for every enemy within 2 of them. In most instances, that's just going to be 1 die, but it's worth mentioning in case the situation down by Matt is still the same, because he would get 2 for 2 enemies within 2. Yep, there Peter goes again. He moved up medium and shot his element guns into the Ancient One. She actually almost lived with the rerolls and such, but 1 damage got through, which is enough to take her out, daze her. She dropped the scientific sample she stole from Gamora. You're only allowed to hold 1, so Peter can't pick it up because he's holding 1. So it's just been placed in an inconvenient position up there, just so Hawkeye, or actually Hawkeye already has 1, doesn't he? Yeah, actually, the only person who could grab it is Luke Cage, but no matter where that was put within 2, he's still in reaching distance. Well, there's an opportunity for a bonus victory point if things play out right by the end of the round, so Luke Cage activated and went for that. He moved, picked up the dropped scientific sample for 1 power, then he moved, so he is within range, and kind of blocking it from this side actually, of one of the crystals. So, all being true, only Iron Fist needs to get within range of one of those to earn that bonus point, assuming he stays standing, although even if he didn't, if he dropped his sample, then it still remains true. Either way, it is over to Better Ray Bill, unless he passes. Well, Bill decided to pass, and that's the smart choice because he has a pick up and throw, so that it's to avoid getting the bonus victory point. Iron Fist activated and just moved into position to force Bill to throw either him or Hawkeye. He's going to have to throw Iron Fist because Hawkeye could just activate after him, but that's on the assumption he doesn't manage to spike damage-wise, I guess. Well, Bill managed to find a way to take us to the end of the round quicker than expected and get almost the best of both worlds, I think. So he moved up medium, then he paid his 3 power to pick up and chuck Iron Fist into the newsstand here for 1 damage just to get rid of him. Still had another actual action, so he did a basic strike into poor Hawkeye and spiked against him, and Hawkeye isn't so good against anything that actually gets to hit him. He's great if you just leave him alone. And it did 4, so that's him from full health to dazed in 1 go. He dropped his scientific sample. Better Ray Bill was not holding one, so he has paid 1 and picked it up. He then also paid another power and automatically converted this crystal because there was no one contesting him. And that does take us to the end of the round. At the end of round 2, both sides have managed to deny themselves that bonus victory point on offer because each side has one person not holding a secure that's also holding an extract. But Better Ray Bill has gained himself 1 extra power, and Luke Cage has generated himself 1 extra power for holding those samples within contesting range. For the other objective, the one that's on the crystal card. Score-wise, defenders have scored 2 for having 2 samples, 1 on Iron Fist, 1 on Luke Cage, and they have control of just 1 of the crystals up there, so they gained 3, taking them up to 7. The Guardians have the other 2 samples, 1 on Bill and 1 on Star-Lord. Star-Lord was the one that wasn't close enough to anything, unfortunately. So that was just 1 point from that, but they hold the other 3 crystals. That got put on the wrong thing there, just noticed. There we go, it should be on there. So that boosted them up past the defenders to 8. So now the Guardians are ahead by a point instead of being behind by a point. But they have given up first activation. So as we go into round 3, defenders going first, with a lot of people flipping their cards. Gamora, Ancient One, and Hawkeye. As we begin round 3 with a big brawl in the middle, as per usual, the Winging It tokens have been given to Gladiator Peter and Better Ray Bill. Well, it might end up being inconsequential to the grander scheme, but the Ancient One activated first for the defenders in round 3, and she immediately spent 4 to punch Gamora in the soul again, managed to do 3 damage with that. Then did Shards of the Seraphim after that, the Pierce being pivotal in making sure that Gamora took another 3 damage, and that is her off the table entirely. So the Ancient One definitely got her revenge there. Now the Ancient One is also lucky that Gladiator did not have 1 more power, because he could have played one of his tactics cards that would have let him fly towards her and punch her for 7 physical dice, which would have meant she had 2 defense dice against it, and probably would have meant her death, so she is very lucky. Peter activated next for the Guardians of the Galaxy. Didn't quite do anything as stupid as on Titan when he punched Thanos in Infinity War, but he did fly over to the crystal there to try and work towards that bonus victory point. Luke Cage was within his element gun's range, so was the Ancient One actually, but Luke Cage is holding an objective. He shot at Luke Cage, did 2 damage, reduced down to 1 thanks to his invulnerable skin, and that's it, didn't do anything else. Iron Fist activated, moved back in against Bill and just tried to do a chi strike into him. Incidentally, I think when I was talking about the affiliation bonus Matt gives, I said extra dice, I meant rerolls. I am very certain I said extra dice because I had Gladiator on the mind. It's rerolls based on the number of enemies around you once per turn. Or once per attack. Once per turn during an attack. Anyway, his chi strike was fully blocked, so Bill took no damage at all. Didn't need to use his Winging It token either. Oh, and one last thing, he did try and convert this back to defenders and did not get a hit crit or a wild on the die, so 1 power wasted. Gladiator has been having a very frustrating first showing on the table. He started by doing a Praetor punch into Luke Cage, hoping to do at least 1 damage so then he could do his equivalent of a charge and go after the Ancient One to remove her from the table. He did really badly with the roll. He had 2 successes all said and done after winging it, and Luke Cage blocked it all. He did another Praetor punch. This one did manage to get through. It was doing 4 damage, reduced down to 3 thanks to his invulnerable skin, and left him alive on 1 health. But it did damage, so he gained a second confidence token, and obviously generated some power. He spent the power to pick up the police car that was sitting there, hocked that into Luke Cage's face. 1 damage got through, so that is Luke Cage daze. He dropped the sample he was holding, and Gladiator has paid 1 to pick it up, because he didn't have 1 prior to that. Hawkeye activated for the defenders and decided that he had a symbiote all along and paid 3 to venomize himself. His energy defense drops by 2 to a minimum of 1, so in his case it drops to 1. And it gives him access to a 3 power, 7 dice, range 3 physical attack that heals him for damage dealt, because he's now a symbiote holder. He started by doing his full quiver after doing that, just into Better Rebuild, did very well. 4 damage, he paid 1 power to reduce it to 3, and gave him shock, because it's the only stats effect he can inflict that for some reason Better Rebuild was not immune to. Then he did the We Are Hungry attack listed on this card. It did 3 damage, which would have been enough to daze him, so he paid 1 power again for the, whatever it's called, the cybernetics he has, to reduce it down to 2. So Better Rebuild took a beating there, but he is alive on 1 health, so he's going to get a chance to smack back. Well, Better Rebuild only got to do one thing during his turn in Search for Vengeance. He immediately tried to use his Call the Storm, whatever it's called, his energy attack, on Hawkeye. Iron Fist sprung into action though, paying for Heroes for Hire to leap in and become the target of the attack instead. He ended up taking 2 damage from that, and as long as he survives, he is allowed to throw the attacker, as long as they're size 3 or less, away small. The angle for that meant that he could chuck Bill into this car. The car is size 3, right? Oh no, the car is size 2, so the car is gone. These are smaller cars. So the car is gone, he takes 1 damage from that impact and is immediately dazed. So he's going to be dropping his sample, but no one can pick it up right now. I'm not sure if anyone can. Oh, Daredevil can, he's not holding one, and it's over to him I think, because everyone else is gone. So Matt activated, and from where he was standing he did his range 4 baton into the back of Gladiator's head. You've got to be a man without fear to do something like that. Actually managed to do 2 damage. He was looking to get anything just to generate a little bit of extra power to do what he wanted to do. That also takes away 1 of Gladiator's confidence tokens. So from where Matt was, he spent 1 power to convert this crystal. No one around, so just instantly. He then moved over here for his other actual action, paid 1 power to pick up the sample dropped by Better Rebuild, and the 3rd power, which was all he had, to convert this crystal automatically because there's no conscious enemy around. And that takes us to the end of round 3. At the end of round 3, going into what is most likely the last turn, as per usual, both sides have earned all potential benefits they can from the 2 crisis cards in play. So the 2 for the defenders that are holding samples, Iron Fist and Daredevil, they are gaining an extra power and also 1 extra bonus victory point. Now you might notice Iron Fist is slightly out of position from where you last saw him. During Heroes for Hire you're supposed to get placed within 1 of the target. That was part of the plan, just forgot to move him entirely, so that's why he's been shifted. He was meant to be there for the purposes of getting within distance to score that bonus victory point. So for the defenders, those 2 score 2 victory points plus a bonus 1. They both get bonus power as well, and they hold 3 out of the 4 crystals themselves, so they've gone up to 13 of the 16 required to win. The Guardians of the Galaxy, who are down to just 3 members, they have also earned the bonus victory point and 2 bonus power for Peter and Gladiator, both being next to a crystal and also having extracts on them, and they hold 1 of the 3, so they have boosted themselves up to 12, so they're still only 1 behind. 13 playing 12, everything still to play for into round 4, with the Guardians going first unless they opt to pass, and Luke Cage and Better Rebuild flipping their cards. Turn 4 opened with Better Rebuild hoping to do more than he actually did. Didn't cover who had Wingate tokens. They have 3 survivors, obviously all of them had them. He started by summoning the Storm to attack Hawkeye, trying to take him out just to remove a threat. Did only 2 damage to him. Bad attack roll. Iron Fist then spent 2 on Reversal just to try and do some damage back, and did nothing. Reversal once again proves to be a waste of time. And then he did another Summon the Storm, this time on Iron Fist, just to try and get that objective off of him, so he could score some points at the end of the round, and managed to do absolutely nothing to him. So, very unfortunate there. Oh, he still has enough power to... he might as well try and convert the crystal. Well, you killed that one up there, but in doing so, you have indeed converted this one to the Guardians. Hawkeye activated for the defenders and unloaded 2 We Are Hungries for a total of 6 power into Better Rebuild. Better Rebuild paid both times to reduce the damage received by 1 and ended up taking 1 damage from each of them. Not super great. Did heal Hawkeye though. And then he paid 1 power to try and convert the crystal there and succeeded, so at least he did that. Gladiator activated and paid 3 for the Empire and Princess, I think it's called. It's his equivalent of a charge. So he moved, he does a punch as part of that, it is an action. and walloped the Ancient One in the face for 5 damage. Probably a good thing that Luke Cage decided, I'm not going to bodyguard that one. He does have bodyguard, right? I think he has something equivalent to. Anyway, he chose not to. And then he followed up with another Praetor punch. I think he's up to 3 confidence now as a result of this attack, because he lost 1 earlier from Daredevil. And that did 6. So yeah, that's Ancient One. Boom. Bye bye. He then paid 1 power to try and convert this crystal, and he actually failed. And that could be very costly in the grand scheme of things. Luke Cage activated for the Defender, and I think he's triggered the end state, such as it were. He moved medium to where you can see him. He spent on Sweet Christmas and managed to do 8 damage into Star-Lord, dazing him, paid 1 power, and has picked up the scientific sample he was holding. Totally forgot he could also try and convert that crystal, and he succeeded. Oh, actually, wouldn't need to roll, because Star-Lord doesn't count as being there. So that's all 4 of the crystals under control, and 3 of the scientific samples. Daredevil still hasn't activated, and neither has Iron Fist. They don't need to. They're getting a bonus victory point just if they stay there. They don't particularly care about Gladiator, who is kind of the last man standing at this point in terms of who matters. So we're just going to go straight to scoring there because the Defenders have won. So just to make it official, at the end of round 4, both sides actually scored their bonus victory point for the scientific samples being within contesting range of secure, because Gladiator is the only one holding 1 for the Guardians now, and he is doing that. And Daredevil, Iron Fist, and Luke Cage are doing the same for the Defenders. So both sides scored the bonus 1 victory point. Gladiator's holding an objective for 1. That meant that the Guardians ended the game on 14. However, the 3 other scientific samples are in the possession of the Defenders, and they hold all 4 of the Cran crystals, which means their final score is a massive 21. So officially they are indeed the victor. And to end on just a quick word on Gladiator, it did feel like New Model Syndrome was certainly here firm in turn 1, and the damage he was doing was certainly building up. Obviously the Ancient One doesn't get to roll a lot of defense dice against physical attacks, and his Praetor punch was a physical attack. By the end of the game there, he was rolling 9 dice, I think, with the 3 confidence tokens he had. Yeah, 9 dice on a basic free strike that he can do as part of a charge for 3 power. So if you ignore him, he does become scary. It's just unfortunate for him, his first turn was a bit of a whiff, so kind of building up that confidence resource never became a threat, and other targets could be focused on. It was looking a bit dicey there for the Defenders prior to this turn, where it kind of all turned around. Close game until this, and it was fun. Hopefully we'll see Gladiator again in the future. He's not currently affiliated with anyone. I presume eventually there'll be the Shiara, whatever, Empire affiliation when Moondragon, etc. comes out, so he'll be part of them. But until then, he's just kind of a free agent, going around beating people up and doing whatever. Fun! Shame he didn't get to face camera for most of that either. We just get to see his red cape, which is, I'm pretty sure, identical to the Doctor Strange one, but in terms of like what AMG used. But either way, hope you enjoyed. Please do remember to show your support. It's been a while since we got Crisis Protocol on the channel, for members or otherwise, so I hope you we're looking forward to it, and we'll continue to support it going forward so we know where to focus our efforts. If you can support the channel above and beyond becoming a channel member, pressing the thanks button or checking out the channel sponsor would be massively helpful. As I said, if you're in the UK and you're struggling to pick up War of Kings to get Gladiator for yourself, my channel sponsor has it in stock because that's where I got it from. Enjoy your evening. I did my stream outro again. Enjoy the rest of your day. There we go, and I will see you next time. Ta-ta for now.